We're going to be on in a few seconds.
All right.
Okay. All right. We are on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast, and I am welcomed by uh, a good friend. I've known this brother for a couple of years. We used to work together.
Long time ago.
Remember those days, Scott?
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes.
Right. Right. So thank you for coming on the show, brother Scott. I really do appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Um, but I I wanted you to go over, your story that you're, and thank you for being willing to, discuss your story first and foremost, Scott. Um, I know that uh, dealing with things like this isn't easy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And going through your journey of dependency, it's from my understanding, this is a life journey,
Oh yeah.
right? I think that's
Absolutely.
safe to say.
Yep.
This is a everyday 24/7 type of thing for you.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so yeah. Uh Before we get started, Scott, I want you to let the people know uh who you are, where you're from, and what do you do? What's your occupation?
Scott Mackiewicz. I'm from Anago, Wisconsin, which is where I'm living again for now the past 8 years or so after moving back up from Milwaukee. Right now I'm a sawyer at a lumber mill, so I operate saws. Kind of
Okay.
taking them just at the time right now.
That sounds like a hard job there, brother.
It's pretty physical, but it's not bad. It keeps him busy. The days go by fast, so it's all right.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Um, I know the topic of discussion is alcohol dependency, but before I start having you talk about that, what was life like for you growing up?
Um, it was an easy childhood, honestly. I never went without. My parents, were there for me all the time. I had what I needed. Yeah, I mean, I can't really complain. I got in a lot of trouble as a kid that a lot of people didn't know about because it was just kind of swept under the rug. But yeah, I had it pretty easy, to be honest. I can't complain
Really?
about my childhood.
Hey, well, that's a good thing
Yeah,
because I know some people didn't have, good childhoods growing up, you know what I mean? And
right.
that could be, that was a lot of why some certain people went down that road of
Yeah,
dependency and drug issues, you know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So that's cool. That's cool. Um, so let's talk about this thing. What led you down that road to becoming dependent on alcohol?
Um, it's hard to say. It's hard to pinpoint sometimes. I know my biological father, who I never met. I maybe met him once when I was like 12. He was an alcoholic. Died, it killed him when he was 55. So I mean, he drank himself to death pretty young. Um,
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah. I know I have a sister that struggles too that I've only met once. So it's definitely a family disease, family issue. But I never really noticed or developed a problem until like 2011. I had three major things happen within a year. I had gastric bypass surgery, which really affects how people process alcohol. And you can,
Really?
yeah, oh yeah. Right now I could have half a beer and I'll be drunk. And that's not a good thing for somebody that's dependent on alcohol. But
Wow.
yeah, and then there's things that come along with it called like addiction transfer. So you go from being addicted to food to fill your emotional needs, and then that transfers to something else like alcoholism. So I mean, there's a lot of underlying factors. And then that same year, I found out my ex-wife, my wife at the time, she was cheating on me. So that was not a good time. And then
Uh,
yeah, and then that same month that happened, there was a really bad accident when I was at work at the HOC driving the bus home. And I still have nightmares about it, man. I mean, I've been diagnosed with
Hmm.
PTSD and all that kind of stuff from it. It's very haunting. But I mean, so those are all contributing factors, I believe.
Really? You got into a traffic accident? Because I
Uh,
know that you were a driver, correct?
right. Yeah, I was the first one to come up on the accident. It was on the Plainfield curve. So it was the first one. I blocked the freeway with the bus and came up to the deceased individual in the car and just a lot of other issues that went along with it. And it was not a pretty sight, something that me as a younger person that never went through training for that and then kind of just, you know, you report it to the people at work and they're like, oh, you're fine, go back to work. And it's like, well, man, this really messed with me. You know, but yeah, it
Yeah,
was not
yeah.
good.
Wow, wow. See, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had that incident. You know, there are certain things uh that went down in the booking room that never really got out to everybody else. You
Sure.
know, so it was like the booking room had its own little, it was its own little world,
Oh
so
yeah.
to speak. I'm pretty sure you can identify with that because you were there. So yeah. So, but and I remember, and not to talk about the past, but I do remember when you were bigger.
Oh yeah. Last
So
time, that's part of my journey. Yeah, I was a lot bigger.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you lost the weight, I was like, wow, man, you look good, man.
Yeah.
So and you still holding it on. That's good.
Put a little back on, but I'm at a
That's
healthy
good.
weight now. I lost too much. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So is it safe to say that because of your gastric bypass and your addiction towards food from the beginning, like you said, you had an addiction transfer. So you said that the addiction for food translated to addiction for alcohol, correct?
Right. And it could have been that I was already predisposed to that because of family issues or whatever, but it never really took off until all those things kind of happened.
Okay, okay. I'm just trying to put it all together so it can make sense. You know what I mean? So, okay, good, good. So, how bad did it get for you once you started that downward spiral of, drinking and whatnot?
It got real bad. It's yeah, it got as pretty bad as you can think, you know. I mean, trouble with the law, all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
it's hell to be honest for everybody involved, myself, my family. It's a hard life to live through and to face every day and know you keep screwing up and trying to get better, and it's just it's rough, man. I mean, I'm
yeah.
in trouble legally right now, and it's just part of my life and part of what I got to do, and it's horrible. Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. Man, as we're talking, I, I just want to say, man, that, you know, I hope that your journey to sobriety continues to be bright. Uh, I know people personally that have went through that, and it's an up and down battle. You know what I mean? It's an up and down battle, and for some, I guess they learn to deal with it and do healthy things to manage, where some others, I mean, they don't,
Right.
right? And I'm just looking through the chat right quick, Scott, and there's people that are giving you some love, right? I'm just going off the grid right now, but I'm just going to say, I don't know if you remember Amy Henderson.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know Amy. Yep.
Yeah, so she said that she's proud of you and to keep it up.
Thanks, Amy.
Um, she also says here that she's been 7 years sober, and that if you ever needed to talk, that she's available for you, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'm available for you too, man. So, I just want to go off the grid because I do believe in helping other people, man. This is why I do what I do here. And so you got support, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right. Just be aware of that. When did you, so you had the gastric bypass surgery. When did you notice that, damn, you know, there's something wrong with what I'm doing?
As far as drinking,
Yes, sir.
probably when I just realized I was still trying to drink like I used to. I'd go out, once a month or whatever with buddies and be able to go to the bar and have a bunch and still just, be okay. And then I would still try and drink that same amount and I would just get blackout drunk. I mean, just have no idea what's going on, pass out, just never a good situation. So then it was probably when I started realizing I couldn't drink like that anymore, but then didn't start having the issue where I couldn't put it down until the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. So it's kind of a different feeling knowing that you can't or that you shouldn't, and then really realizing that, oh crap, I can't do this anymore. How do I stop? It's kind of a heavy load.
Sure. So 2012, you were still employed with the county, correct?
I officially quit in March, but yeah, I was kind of coming and going.
Coming and going. Okay. Because another question I was going to ask you was, were there ever a time during your time working there at the jail where you under the influence when you walked in?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So from September was when I found out about my ex-wife until that March. I was not there very often. I came in sometimes I didn't. And when I was coming in, I wasn't doing too good a lot of the times. And there was times where, to be honest, it was noticed and it was just brushed under the rug. And people are like, all right, you just won't drive today. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow. So people knew.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Um, did any supervisors knew about
Yes.
this, or was it just other officers?
I was mostly
Supervisors knew too.
yeah, mostly the supervisor.
Mostly. Okay. And when you came in, you did not drive.
No.
Okay. So the day of the accident that you had, you weren't under the influence.
Oh no, not at all. That was actually a couple months prior to that, prior to September. I want to say it was July. But no, I wasn't at all. And yeah.
Okay. Good. Uh, how did your dependency affect your family?
Hugely. Um,
Talk about it.
I didn't really grasp that I had a problem or understand or accept it or however you want to put it, until 2016. That's when or 2015, excuse me. So between 2012 and 2015, I got 2 DUIs. The first one was in 2012. I still didn't understand that I had a problem. I just thought it was, I screwed up. And then happened in 2015, and that's when I was court ordered to go to counseling and AA. Actually, I got my second DUI when I was in a counseling group, going through a lot of different therapies and stuff like that. And I got another one and was court ordered to go to AA, and I absolutely hated it. I hated AA at the time, and maybe it was just that type of group, or maybe it was that I was forced to do it. But yeah, that's when I really understood that I had the problem. And it was a lot of ups and downs with my wife, my current wife. We're married now. But yeah, it was a great effect on them. There's be times where I would just pass out and I had no idea what happened for days, and I would be recovering for a week at a time, and it was a lot of touch and go.
Jeez. Okay. Um, so you weren't going through this battle with your ex-wife,
No,
the wife that cheated on you, correct?
no.
Okay. Ugh. Yeah. You gotta pardon me, brother Scott, because I'm just feeling a lot of compassion, because going through that, and what's worse about it for you, Scott, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems as though you went through this by yourself
To an
because
extent,
you had nobody to, huh? I'm sorry.
kind of to an extent, I hid it a lot. I hid the drinking a lot.
Okay, you hit it.
Yep.
Okay. So how often would you, on a daily basis, back then, how often would you say, would you, you know, drink one?
Sometimes it would be nightly. There'd be times where I'd go a week or two without it. But at the time, my wife, she would be on second shift and I would be on first shift. So I would just kind of drink to pass out and ignore the pain and forget the pain. As best I can
Indeed,
put it.
indeed. So do you think that by you hiding it, do you think that your actions somewhat led to the tension that you're currently having at home?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Are you guys in counseling for that?
Yeah, we are both in counseling, together and separately on our own. She is also in AA. So my drinking led her to Al-Anon, which is like a support group for family members of alcoholics. And through Al-Anon, she discovered that she's an alcoholic too. So we both
Mm,
attend AA, and she didn't realize the problem she was having and how much it was she was drinking. And so yeah, we both attend AA together, and we're at a good spot right now. So it's actually better than it's been
awesome.
in a long time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So you guys were both going through your dependency issues. Did you know about her issues,
No,
or were you focused on yourself?
focused on myself. I didn't really realize what she was doing. Honestly, I found bottles hidden in the house sometimes, and I thought maybe I did it. And that's how bad it can get. And it's like, oh crap, that wasn't me, that was you. So yeah, you kind of realize
Hmm.
stuff when you're getting clear minded about things. So it's an interesting past to look at.
So how did that conversation come about between you and your wife? Like, hey, I'm an alcoholic too. You know what I'm saying? Like, how did that come about?
It was interesting. It was kind of just she kind of wanted me to go to meetings, and I was ready at that point, and that she said kind of that she needed to go too, and she realized that she was having an issue. I didn't know she was going to Al-Anon. She was going to online Zoom meetings for it. So I think that just made her really look inside of herself and think that like we
Mm,
both needed help. So yeah, she kind of reached out and not pushed me into, but suggested we go together.
indeed, indeed, indeed. Before I proceed, Scott, I just want to say this to those that are listening. If you guys have any questions that you would like to ask of Scott, please do so. Um, Scott is he's a good guy, and he is dealing with some issues that a lot of us do go through from time to time. And he has been gracious enough to open himself up and be transparent about his journey. And so, again, if you guys have any questions for Scott while we're talking, um, please present that in the chat, and I will let Scott know, and we'll just go from there. Okay. Other than that, continue to show your love and support for Brother Scott as we proceed with this interview. All right. So, uh, you didn't know your biological father, Scott, correct?
Correct.
And you met him once.
Yep.
Okay. What about your sister?
I've met her once. I didn't really know she existed. She's a half sister. So I met her once, maybe 4 years ago. We kind of chat on Facebook every now and then. I know she's dealing with a lot of issues too. So it's It's kind of
Mm,
rough.
mm. Okay, okay. What was it like when you met your biological father?
It was very awkward. I was
I bet.
12, I think maybe 13. We met him at a truck stop. We had lunch, and it was my brother, my mom, and I. And he had his new wife there, or his current wife at the time. And it was basically, hey, can we have some money to go play video games? And that was it. And we really didn't talk much, but it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah. So I would imagine that after that first time, that was pretty much a wrap for you.
Yep.
So, how did you know that your father and your sister were both dealing with the same problem as you were?
I didn't hear much about my father at all growing up. He was never talked about, never discussed. It was kind of talked about that he had an issue with alcohol, but it was when we were so young that I didn't really remember it until I was older. Um, and then when I met my sister, we started talking on Facebook and stuff, and we still do. We chat, and I asked her if she had any issues with alcohol, which she doesn't, but she has issues with hard drugs. So it was kind of addiction, but just a different way. Which I thought was very interesting because she used to hang out with him in the bar. Like she grew up, she knew him, but they would sit in the bar.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Yeah,
it's different.
yeah, that's awkward.
Yeah,
You're sitting in the bar, both getting hammered, and it's like, yeah, this is my dad.
right, right.
So let me ask you this: have you ever been violent during your drinking?
Yeah, uh, not that I recall, but I've been told.
Mhm. And the reason why I ask is because when most people uh get into heavy drinking and whatnot, it changes your mood, as you know. It changes your mood, and most times it creates a very you transform it to a different person, and you can get easily triggered, right?
Oh yeah,
You can go left. I mean, like that. And I'm speaking from experience because when I drank a lot at times, I was quick to get, upset. And I thank God that it never got to that point where I would take my aggressions out on people. Maybe it was one time where I actually flipped out and went black. It wasn't a pretty sight. I didn't remember much, but I do remember being scarred on my arm. And it took a few guys to hold me down,
wow. Yeah,
right? Um, and since that day, I know that I try to be mindful of what I'm doing, and where I'm at. And there were times that I, I slip up, you know what I'm saying? And I drank a lot and I would have the blackouts and whatever, but I never put myself in a position to be violent towards somebody.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? That one day that it didn't scar me, but it opened me up. Like, yo, you too strong to be snapping on people.
Right.
So you need to be more careful about what you do because you can hurt somebody, you know. Um, and that's why I asked you if you ever like lost control,
Yeah.
because it kind of goes hand in hand, right?
Yep.
When you get to that point where you don't know what you're doing and somebody can just tap you on your shoulder, I mean, hey, boom, you know, you're snapping.
Right.
So, um, so I asked just to get an idea of where you were at that time. So it's not to poke you, you know what I'm saying? It's just to get a better understanding and to also let you know, hey, I hear you
Sure.
because I've been there too,
Yep.
right? So yeah, so I get you. I get you, brother. has there been any traumatic moments growing up in your life that you could say maybe this led to me eating so much? Because you said you had an eating problem
Right.
previous to your surgery and previous to your drinking. So was there any trauma in, that happened to you that led to that compulsive eating?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think I was just overfed. It was like my mom, my grandma, keep clean plate club. You can't go leave until you have your whole plate. And it's like, oh, you finished that. Here's another plate. And it's still like that at my mom's
Yeah.
house. It's kind of a generational thing, I think. But I don't think any trauma reacted to eating. There was definitely trauma incidences, but I was already eating before that. So
Okay. Okay. What traumatic incidents happened?
When I was in fifth grade, a new kid came to school. People didn't really want to talk to him. I was just trying to be nice, I'll come hang out with you. I'll be your buddy or whatever. Went over
Yeah.
there, and I want to say his 6-year-old niece at the time, he molested her in front of me. He goes, "Hey, check out what we do." And I was like,
What?
yeah, right. And I was like, this isn't right. Went to the school.
No. No.
Yeah, we had like a group counseling thing at school. I went to the counselor, told her about it. They handled it completely improperly. They went to the principal's office. The principal actually went and called his mother, the kid's mom. She came to the school, ripped me out of the classroom by my hair, and started whooping me in the hallway. So I mean, that wasn't handled at all.
No. 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 That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. All right. Let me ask you a few more questions, man. When did you start when did you start going to treatment, Scott?
Um, this last time I started going to A last May. So, and I did have between 2016 and 2020, I had 4 full years of what you would call sobriety. I wasn't drinking at all, but I really don't feel that I was sober. I mean, I went 4 years without a drink, but I wasn't, it was what you call a dry drunk. I wasn't happy with my life. I was just not drinking. It wasn't good recovery. It was just going through the motions, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't meaningful
Right.
for you at that time. When did it become meaningful?
Um, Started going to AA this last May, and that's the first time I felt a connection with people that could really understand what you were going through, felt accepted. There's not a Friday. We go on Friday nights at 7:30. My mom watches our kids, so what me and wife and I can go, and it feels like a family. It's I get more out of those meetings. I look forward to it every week. It's really amazing. I got to drive an hour to get there because I live in the middle of nowhere, but I mean it's a
Yeah,
great, it's a blessing.
nice, nice. Um, how difficult has it been for you to stay sober?
Extremely. it's um it's absolutely an minute by minute, hour day to day thing. It's rough, man. And it's since May, I've had many relapses. I mean, it's a hard thing to go in to see these 20 people that you see every Friday and be like, "Yep, I messed up again," but they get it, they understand,
Mm,
and they're welcoming. Like I think people can research and have book knowledge as much as they want, but until you are an addict, I don't feel that people can truly understand what you go through. When we were working at the jail, we booked these same people in. Oh, this is your 10th DUI. Well, how could you do this? I get it now.
mhm. Yeah,
At the time, I
yeah,
thought you are such an idiot. Just stop. I absolutely understand.
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. Because we've seen so many people come in for their fourth, fifth, DUI or WI. It's like, dude, how can you even drive?
Right.
You shouldn't be driving at all forever,
Right.
right? And but I get it. I get it, Scott, because once upon a time, when I wasn't happy with my life and I was drinking a lot, I was doing some of the same things that you were doing. I was, driving drunk, but my trauma, I did have traumas, and the traumas for me were dark. So during those years, I mean, the person you see now wasn't the person that you would have known then. I was a totally different person, you know what I'm saying? And the thing with me though, I kept it all inside because for one, I didn't know how to speak it out,
Right.
right? I didn't know how to, admit that something was going on. Um, I didn't want to be labeled.
Yeah.
So I say that to ask you, were were there any concerns of you being labeled, what I'm saying, or classified as something? And if it was, what made you get over it?
Definitely, absolutely concerned. And there are those labels, and unfortunately it's a stigma with addiction that people they're going to label you an alcoholic and always think that you're there, or that think that you are. And well, I am, always will be an alcoholic. Whether I'm recovered or not is a different story. Sorry, this kitty. But it's something that people, they don't understand, and they're going to label you and they're going to view you like that always. I can be sober for 20 years and never ever drink again, but oh, there's Scott the alcoholic. And that's a reality that I got to deal with. But it came down to the fact that through AA and sharing and everything, I learned that I really don't care what people think of me then. I want people to know me now, and that's what matters, and where I go from there. Um,
Yeah.
this is my journey, and every bump in the road is a lesson, but it's important to be honest about it. I mean, really.
Hmm. Yeah. 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 I totally agree. Our journey is our journey. The only thing that we can do is learn to navigate through the ups and downs of our journeys, right? Um, for some people, it could be easy. For some of us, it could be hard. But regardless of that, it's still ours. And we have to learn how to own our journey,
Right.
right? We have to get over the fear of being stigmatized and being talked about. I mean, hell, you don't have to be, dependent on alcohol or drugs to be talked about. People talk about you, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reason, right?
Yep.
But, you know, we just have to get over all of that bullshit and just, stay true to ourselves.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, Scott, we have to help us.
Yep.
We got to take care of us. The person you look in the mirror every damn day has to take care of you.
Yep.
Right? We can't give a goddamn about what she thinks or what he thinks or what they think. I mean, the hell with them.
Right.
We got to stay focused on us.
Yep.
The person you look in the mirror, like I said, every day, that's the person that you got to take care of. You got to take care of him first before you could take care of anybody else.
Yep.
So keep hitting your grind, man. But I want to ask you this question too, Scott.
Yeah.
Uh, what problems did you encounter any problems during your treatment?
Um, ex- explain more. What kind of problem?
Uh, all right. Did you have any relapses
Oh yeah,
during
yeah,
your treatment?
yep, yeah.
Okay.
Since May, there's been a lot, unfortunately, and this last one was 11 days ago, which was a tough one to swallow because we were both sober for almost 5 months, and then to screw it up after that long of actually good sobriety, good healthy sobriety really, really sucked. But it was,
Mm.
it's not for naught. It's a lesson. You know, I look at every slip as a lesson learned and a new way to go forward. And okay, I can't do that again. Or, you know, it's hard, but
Yeah.
I understand it and I accept it now. So
Mhm. And you're you're currently going through treatment now, correct?
yes,
How many days has it been?
11.
11 days since the okay. All right. Um, I'm gonna read this comment from Amy.
Yeah.
Uh, she says here, who cares? People are always going to think we're shitheads and scum. All that matters is how we live our own lives and what we make of it,
Yep.
right? Uh, I got another here from brother Orhowski. Remember him?
Hey, Keith.
Brother Keith?
Yep.
Yes, sir. He says here, what God led us to, he also gets us through. Have faith in the path, right? So again, guys, if you have any questions to ask from from me or for Scott, please do so. Um, yeah, I think that's the name of the game, Scott, is staying in our own lane and keeping faith, because there's going to be days, I'm sure, that you are going to be very discouraged. There's going to be days where, you know, it's going to feel like the world is coming down on your shoulders during this time. And uh my my words of advice for you would be to stay on God's word, brother. Stay on his word. Stay on your square. Don't let what's going on to the left of you or what's going on to the right of you trip you, right? If you fall, get your ass back up and keep it moving.
Yep.
Don't worry about, what he say or what she say, Scott. Just keep going. Keep going. One day at a time. That's all you can do. One day at a time. Keep it moving. Don't stop. You know what I'm saying? Don't
Absolutely.
stop. Uh, so that leads me to ask you this question.
Yeah.
What motivates you, Scott, to get through every day? Through, as you go through your sobriety journey, what motivates you to get through each day?
My family. I mean, I got my wife and I have 4 children, you know, are all young kids. One's turning 18 this year. He's my stepson. And then I got an 11-year-old boy, an 8-year-old girl, and a 6-year-old girl. And it's just, man, in the last 6 months, they've never seen me and their mom as happy as we are now. And that's amazing motivation. Not that they've seen the horribleness of addiction, but they know, you know, the kids, they're not stupid. They understand when something's wrong. But I mean, if I don't get better for myself, I'll never get better for them. What the hell kind of role model am I if I'm just sitting here drunk all the time? You know, I don't want them to have to deal with that anymore. And that's my biggest motivation is my family.
Indeed, bro. Indeed. Indeed. Last question. What would you tell someone going through what you're going through to inspire them in their sobriety journey?
Find what you need to live for and do everything you can to get there. Um, if it's a meeting that works for you, that's what you got to do. And every single meeting is different. Like I said, the first time I went to AA, I absolutely hated it, and I love it. I'm inspired by the people that are not there now. There's people with one day of sobriety. There's people there with 40 years, and they are just amazing, successful, happy people. And it's
Hmm.
great thing to see when you can find your group. Um, whether it's
Indeed.
online counseling, I go to individual therapy, I see a psychologist, that all that helps. There's any little bit you can find is great. I mean, there's so many resources out there now that I was
Yes,
just
it
too
is.
stupid to
Yes, it
take
is.
advantage of before, or too afraid. And
Mm,
that's one thing. I was
mhm,
honestly afraid to get sober, and it's something that scared
mm,
me. So I had to deal with life,
mm.
which is a hard concept to grasp. But yeah, it's just
Yes, it is.
there's so much better out there than just living in the dark. There's so much life out there.
Man, wow. You're right. I mean, there are a lot of resources out there, and I will say this too. There are people out here like your AA group, that are supportive, and they're here for us, you know, during our journey, because you said that there's somebody in your group that has 44 years.
Yeah, over 40 years. Yeah.
I mean, that's, for one, that's amazing. That's amazing. And number two, 44 years. I mean, I'm 54. I mean, I'm trying to do the math, and it's like, wait a minute. This man has been on his journey, what I'm saying, for 40 something years. And the the sobering part about this, Scott, is that it only takes one bad day. It could take only one bad day to really mess up all those years,
Yep.
all those years, all of the sweat, the tears, the effort. It can all just fall apart in one day. So for him to be on this grind for that long, I mean, that says a lot, man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That says a lot.
Yep.
Holy crap. I mean, wow. Wow. Um, wow. I really do wish the best for you and your family, brother Scott, because life life can really like throw you for a loop
Oh yeah.
when it wants to. You know what I mean? And we have to be strong enough to endure those episodes, right? When it happens. And my prayer for you is that you have the strength to endure life when it happens,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not going to say that it will never happen. I mean, I would be lying if I told you that. It will happen.
Oh
It
yeah.
will happen for all of us. But my hope is that you stay centered and focused on your journey, because it is a journey.
Yeah.
It is a journey. I mean, and according to your friend, this this is this is a life journey, and you can make it beautiful,
Yeah.
right? By being around good people, learning more about yourself, and just accepting you for who you are. Knowing who you are, knowing what makes you tick, and knowing what your limitations are. You know what I'm saying? That could really go a long way in terms of your sobriety. I mean, you know who you can hang around with. You know who you can't hang around with.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know where you can go. You
Yep.
know where you cannot go. So don't put yourself in any position to mess up your journey,
Right.
because It's yours, Scott, not theirs. It's yours.
Yep.
You understand?
Oh yeah. And that's the hardest
So,
thing is figuring
um,
out who we are as a person. You know, that's my hardest thing is figuring out who I am. It's
yeah, yeah, indeed, man, indeed. Uh, Brother Anzac, he made a comment to us, Scott. He says, thanks to me and for you for having this real convo. He has a friend watching who has been an alcoholic for 30 years and is 2 months sober. And so he's feeling this conversation. And that's what yeah. Congratulations to him, Brother Ryan. Um, Another comment from the chat here from Stephen Lepak. This is a buddy of mine, good friend Stephen. He says here, just remember, God has a plan and he will test you every day and he will not put more on your plate than you can handle. So you got a lot of love here, brother.
absolutely
You got a lot of love and support on the chat. So
appreciate it.
um
Everybody. Yep.
yes, sir. So you got a lot of people from the HOC, showing you love, and a lot of people that I know that are supporting you in your journey, Scott, because your journey, much like everybody else's, it's real, it's authentic, and it's something to be applauded when people like yourself come on here and be transparent, because there's so many others, Scott, that are still hiding.
Yep. Yeah.
They're still battling those demons by themselves. And hopefully through this conversation, we can reach those other people that are choosing to fight by themselves and understand that they don't have to.
Right.
They don't have to. They never had to, right? So I applaud you again, Scott, for being transparent, coming on here and sharing your story, brother, because the purpose of what I'm doing is to ultimately hope to help save some lives,
Absolutely.
right? To open some eyes and to save some lives. Because trauma is real.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Dependency is real. And, once you become dependent on something, I mean, it changes you. It changes you, brother. And to really, like, quote unquote, recover is a process.
Yeah.
And depending on how severe your issue is, I mean, it could be a life journey. It could be, what I'm saying? It could be for life, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Um, just take your journey one day at a time. It's something that I'm learning to do too, right? And I hope that your journey continues to go well, Scott.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about you and your wife before I end this. I was thinking about you and your wife. You mentioned that she was dealing with her issues too, and you didn't know it. Um, how are you guys helping each other through your processes? How are you helping her? How is she helping you?
We're kind of a sounding board to each other where we didn't talk about issues, not just for drinking, but we didn't talk about issues for 8, 9 years. We just kind of hit it and we're on autopilot. And now we're actually open and have a open line of communication like we've never had before. If she's feeling down, she texts me or her sponsor. We both have sponsors that we're open with, and it's it's an interesting situation to have somebody in the house that's also an addict, and we know we can be a really bad thing for each other, but we can also be a really
Mm.
positive thing for each other. So we try not to focus on all the negatives the past and the future, and we just focus on right now and how we're doing today. And that's really helpful for each other.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I don't have any other questions to ask of you, Brother Scott. But again, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Absolutely.
If do you have any like contact information, like an email address? So if anybody wanted to reach out to you, and even like myself, I mean, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and talk to you, what's a good email for you to be contacted?
Scott.Mackiewicz@yahoo.com.
Okay. Scott.Mackiewicz at yahoo.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
at phone
All
number
right.
2. Yep, phone number 2. If anybody needs to get in contact with me, I keep my phone on all the time now, which I never used to do. But there's random people I don't know that text me. They need help, need a place to go. Our door is always open. We got extra room. I mean, we're in the middle of the North Woods, but I mean, we have a very open house and very loving hearts. So it's it's an interesting journey that we're on, like you said. But if anybody's out there that's, like you were saying, still hiding, most of us can't do this alone. Reach out to anybody. I'm
Indeed.
a total stranger, and if I can help you in some way, I will. But yeah, nobody has to be alone, man.
Indeed, brother. Indeed. You're right. Nobody. Because I mean, this journey, I mean, going through life alone itself can be hard, but when you go through life dependent on something, and knowing that something can kill you,
Yes.
that adds another element of danger to the whole thing, right? Because like you said, your dad died from this. I just met somebody last week, Scott. She is she's a life coach, and I'm going to be talking with her hopefully tomorrow morning. Her husband died of the same thing. Drank himself to death. To death. So alcohol dependency is a real thing, and it can really do more damage than good, ladies and gentlemen. I would strongly stress that if anybody that's out here listening to us speak and you need to reach out and get help, please don't hesitate any longer. Get help. Call somebody. Talk to somebody. Get yourself in some sort of treatment facility somewhere or a treatment group. I mean, my phone is open. You can call me, 414-881-2342. Call me too. So I'm here. Goodness, man. Yeah. We just stay on your grind, man. We're going to get this thing done. We're going to get it done, brother. But let me end this podcast for the night, Scott. I know you got to deal with your family. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you so much for being transparent, brother. And I really do appreciate the love and support that you have received here on this show. And if you need me, brother, I'm here for you.
All right, Mark. Thanks. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, brother, man. And you have a good one. All right.
Thanks, you too.
I'm now. You take care, brother.
Thanks, you too.
Peace.